Welcome back, everybody. We continue our BFI London Film Festival 2020 coverage for Boys on Film. Look who it is. It's the other boy on film. It's Raj Rudolph.
Hey, Phil.
And I'm Phil Marriott. Good to have you here, by the way. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. We've got lots of content on this channel and, of course, all over social media. You can check out the details on the screen now for where to find us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram as well. But today we're talking about David Byrne's American Utopia. It's a show that I sadly missed. I think it was at Meltdown, wasn't it, at the South Bank Centre in London. It's obviously toured around the globe as well. Did you catch it, Raj? Were you fortunate enough to see this show?
Not live, no, and I can't say it would be something that I would go out of my way to see unless a PR really twisted my arm to go and see. I've always had an appreciation for David Byrne and Talking Heads, but I'm not a massive fan. I enjoy the songs when I hear them. So, to be fair, I didn't really know much about American Utopia before it was announced, so I didn't really do my research in it. I figured it was like a Broadway modern musical sort of thing, and I totally got it wrong when I watched it.
Yeah, me too, because I saw all the coverage online and I've seen a couple of clips on YouTube, and when I looked at it, first of all, I thought, oh wow, that's a really basic set, and boy, was I wrong about that, because yes, it was a very simple set, but there was a lot to do. Well, it was a lot to do with the people that were involved on that stage, because what they were doing with how they moved around the stage and wearing, their equipment, wearing their musical instruments, I thought it was mind blowing. I thought it was so clever, and also it's more about the narrative as well. It's not just about a band playing live, playing a concert. It was more thoughtful than that, I thought.
Yeah, see that. I think for me that's where the disconnect began, because I wasn't expecting basically, the David Byrne and Talking Heads greatest hits. I just wasn't. I thought it was like going to be more original material. So I'm sitting there watching the film, and of course I don't know every David Byrne and Talking Heads song by heart. So when the fact that Lazy came on, which was a big, massive dance club hit, I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and did it give you goosebumps? Because that Express 2 tune, obviously with David Byrne on vocals, it just came alive on stage as part of that show. It just felt really euphoric.
Yeah, and as soon as that happened, I'm like, okay, well, this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. And I was trying to like really listen to the lyrics, because I wanted that social commentary, because I thought it was going to be more of a social commentary, and maybe it is. I just thought it was going to be more obvious, sort of in your face about it. And so as soon as I heard Lazy, I looked up like the track listing for this. I'm like, oh, Burn It Down the House is going to be on here, and as well. So I was like, oh, okay. So it's basically a David Byrne's concert with his greatest hits, and with a little social commentary mixed in. So it was a little different than what I was expecting. But I enjoyed it. I mean, I can't say I was like glued to the screen the whole time. My mind switched into concert mode. I was like, oh, I'll groove into the music. And I was kind of like listening into, the speech in between the songs and everything, because it felt more like a concert to me. But yeah, when he did that Janelle Monáe cover, I was like, oh, I kind of like, it really made me sit up and go, oh, okay, this is pretty powerful stuff.
That was Hell You Tombow. That was such a great part of the show as well, and it really was thought-provoking. Obviously, name-checking, calling attention to the minority victims that suffer because of violence, and Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, Sharonda Singleton, all these people that have died because of racial prejudice.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful, that bit. I really enjoyed it. Would I listen to all the songs on, my Spotify playlist? Probably not. But I think, the 2 hours that this film was in front of me, it had my attention. If I did see it live, I probably would have a totally different opinion, because, you get so energized when you're at a live gig. And, it was meticulously produced and choreographed, and I love that they were playing real instruments, but there was no chords on stage at all.
It was amazing.
Yeah, like, how do you even pull that off with no chords coming out of any of the instruments? Like, I mean, it was an impressive feat. technically it was minimalist, but totally mind blowing how he pulled it off. So
yeah, and you mentioned the social commentary aspect of it, and I just remember him talking about babies and how they have more connectors in their brains than adult brains, because over time he was saying that adults lose those connections, and I just found that fascinating as well, because when you think about when you're growing up and you're becoming kind of bombarded by all this stuff in life, you do get damaged. And I just found that whole thing, that's how obviously he started the show, and it just became more interesting as it went along, and it wasn't just a band performing live, it was more than that. It felt like a real sensory experience. It just reminded me a little bit, and I'm not comparing too much here, but it just reminded me of going to see the Blue Man Group in Vegas. I saw them at the Luxor theatre there. And that whole feeling of euphoria and being up close and feeling part of, an artist's performance, it reminded me of that. And I'm not saying that the shows are similar. It just reminded me of that whole sensory experience, because you see the band coming out at the end and walking, amongst the audience with their instruments and walking back to the stage. And I found that a really good element of it, a really powerful element.
Yeah, for me, the message is we get stupider as we get older.
Yeah.
I think he's tapped into something, because I think a lot of the commentary was around, we get more conservative as we get older, and that's what's happening in America right now.
It feels really relevant and really, it feels of the moment, doesn't it? Even though it's a show from, was it last year, maybe 2 years? 2 years ago?
And the fact that he hasn't lost his receptors and can still still tell a message like that is amazing. I just love the whole concept. Going into it was a little different than what I was expecting, but it was refreshing. It was eye-opening. Yeah,
it's interesting you say about not necessarily, loving Talking Heads and David Byrne solo and all the stuff that he's done as an artist, as a musical artist, because I've never really bought that much stuff of his from his band or his solo work. I've bought bits and pieces. But now watching this makes me appreciate his music more. It makes me kind of want to delve into his back catalogue, which I suppose is a plus point for him, isn't it? Because that will help him sell more records, because he deserves that.
Yeah. Directed by Spike Lee, too, did we mention?
That's actually a really good point, too, because we haven't mentioned him. We're 10 minutes into this review, and I think direction for this is a really important thing, and I think he's done an amazing job with this.
Yeah, totally. I love these whole thought-provoking, music integration films that we're seeing. I got a few vibes of, Beastie Boys Story. I don't know if you've seen it on Apple TV, but it's pretty amazing as well. Very autobiographical, but very clever. And I think this feels along the same lines of that. Very autobiographical, clever. There's a story there.
Yeah, I thought it was phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed it. Again, one of the highlights for me of the LFF this year. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 because I just thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go 8 out of 10 for me. Just because I'm not a massive David Byrne fan. I literally knew 3 songs of the whole thing. But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it.
So it's called David Byrne's American Utopia. Let us know in comments if you've seen it. Maybe if you saw the live show actually in person, a theatre somewhere. Let us know where you saw it. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, if you're new here. And give us a thumbs up for this if you've enjoyed it. We'll see you soon. Good to see you, Raj.
See you, Phil.